I can't do this anymore, Emeka.
Adaeze, please, don't do this.
Goodbye.
In every family, there is a bond that is supposed to be unbreakable, the bond of blood. They say blood is thicker than water. They say sisters will stand by each other through fire and through flood, through poverty and through plenty, through the small quarrels of childhood and the heavier trials of womanhood. But what happens when the very thing meant to protect the family becomes the thing that threatens to tear it apart? What happens when love, loyalty, and betrayal all wear the same face, and a woman can no longer tell which one is looking back at her? Lagos is a city of many stories. It is a city where fortunes rise overnight and crumble just as fast, where love is built in the space between long working hours, where family ties are tested daily against the hard, relentless pace of survival. And in the middle of this city, in a small boutique filled with the bright colors of Ankara fabric, one such story is about to unfold. This is the story of two sisters, Adaeze, the elder, strong, proud, a woman who built her name and her business with her own two hands, brick by brick, sail by sail, in a city that shows no mercy to the unprepared. She has fought for everything she has, her shop, her independence, and now, at last, the love she believes she has finally found in a man named Emeka, a man of means, a man of charm, a man she is only 2 days away from marrying in a ceremony that will unite two families. And then there is Chiamaka, whom everyone simply calls Chioma, the younger one, gentle, loyal, the kind of sister who has always walked one step behind Adaeze, admiring her, learning from her, leaning on her. But Chioma is carrying a secret so heavy that it has kept her awake at night for weeks, turning over and over in her mind the question of whether to speak or to stay silent, and not knowing until it is almost too late that silence itself can be its own kind of betrayal. Watching over them both is their mother, a woman the family calls Mama Adaeze, a widow, a woman who raised 2 daughters alone after losing her husband, a woman whose hands have never stopped working and whose heart has never stopped hoping that her girls would always have each other, no matter what life brought their way. This is Blood Sisters, a story of betrayal, a story of loyalty, and in the end, a story of love, not the fragile, fairy tale kind of love that crumbles at the first sign of trouble, but the kind of love that survives the truth, however painful that truth may be, the kind of love that does not ask to be perfect, only to be true. The afternoon sun beats down on the streets of Lagos. Okada riders weave between yellow buses, horns blaring, the whole city moving as it always does, fast, loud, unforgiving of anyone who slows down. Traders call out their wares from the roadside, their voices rising and falling like a chorus that never rests. And in the middle of all this noise, there stands a small but proud shop, Ada's Couture, its windows lined with the finest Ankara fabric this side of the city, its name painted in bold letters above the door, a small monument to everything Adaeze has built with her own 2 hands. Inside, the air is cooler, quieter, though no less tense. Adaeze sits behind her counter, counting cash with the kind of focus that comes only from a woman who has fought hard for every single naira she has ever made. Her brow is furrowed. Business has not been easy these past months. The taxman, Mr. Bello, has been on her neck for weeks now, sending letter after letter, threatening to shut her down over paperwork she barely has time to sort through. And as if that were not enough, her wedding, her introduction ceremony, the day she has dreamed of since she was a young girl watching brides pass by in white and gold, is only 2 days away. There is so much to think about, so much to carry, so much riding on everything going exactly right. She does not notice at first when the door opens and her younger sister Chioma steps in, holding a folder close to her chest like a shield, as if the thin cardboard could somehow protect her from what she has come to say. "Sister, good afternoon, oh," Chioma says, her voice soft, almost too soft. "I brought the shop's tax documents you asked for." Adaeze does not even look up. Her mind is elsewhere, on invoices, on wedding plans, on 100 small fires she must put out before Saturday. "Just drop it there," she says. "I don't have time to argue with Mr. Bello about tax again this week." But Chioma does not move to leave. She lingers by the door, the folder trembling slightly in her hands. Something in her posture, the way her shoulders curve inward, the way she keeps opening her mouth and closing it again, the way her eyes dart toward her sister and then quickly away, tells us this is not an ordinary visit. This is not just about tax documents. This is a woman working up the courage to hand over something far heavier than paper. She has practiced this moment. On the downfall bus that morning, staring out the window at the traffic, she rehearsed the words a dozen different ways. In the mirror before leaving the house, she told herself that honesty, however painful, is always better than a secret that festers. But now, standing here, in the shop her sister built with sweat and sacrifice, all of that rehearsed courage seems to shrink into something small and uncertain. Finally, she speaks. Adaeze, there's something I need to tell you about Emeka. And just like that, the air in the room changes. Adeze's head snaps up. The counting of cash stops. Her eyes, sharp and sudden, fix on her sister's face. What about my fiancé? She asks, and there is an edge in her voice now, the edge of a woman who senses, before she even hears the words, that her world is about to shift beneath her feet. Chioma swallows hard, forcing the words up from somewhere deep in her chest. What is left, now that the rehearsed lines have failed her, is only the raw, frightened truth. Before you and him started, she begins, her voice barely above a whisper. He used to call me, many times. I didn't take it seriously, I swear. But yesterday, he came to my flat. The words land like stones dropped into still water. Adaeze rises from her chair so quickly it scrapes loudly against the tiled floor. He came to your flat? Her voice is rising now, disbelief curdling into fury. And you're telling me now, 2 days to my introduction ceremony? Chioma's hands reach out, pleading, desperate to be understood. I was afraid, she cries. I didn't want to break what you have. Nothing happened, Ada. Nothing. But in this moment, nothing is not a word that can reach Adaeze. All she hears is that her fiancé, the man she's about to stand before family and community and call her husband, went to her sister's home. All she hears is that her sister, her own blood, kept this from her for who knows how long. Adaeze stares at Chioma, and in her eyes we see a war between the love she has always had for her little sister, the girl she used to carry on her back to school when their mother could not afford Okada fare for both of them, and the fury she has never felt before, hot and sudden and impossible to reason with. Memories flash through her mind, birthdays shared, secrets kept, a childhood spent as each other's only true confidant, but none of it is strong enough, in this moment, to hold back the tide of betrayal rising in her chest. In the end, fury wins. Get out of my shop, Chioma, she says, her voice flat and cold, pointing toward the door. Get out. Chioma does not argue. She does not defend herself further. She simply lowers her head, clutches the folder to her chest once more, and walks out into the Lagos afternoon, leaving her sister alone with her anger, and with the wreckage of a wedding that suddenly feels very far from certain. Outside, the heat of the afternoon presses down on Chioma,